Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty crazy news where people are just not buying PlayStation games, and entire countries are basically kind of throwing away a lot of fodder when it comes to these really popular PlayStation games in the first place. We have one of the most unexpected and random big game announcement. We have a huge actually review that no one was expecting to as well. We also have some brand new games dominating the market, and just everything else. Like, there's a lot of drama, a lot of good stuff, a lot of good news, so you guys will sit back, relax, and enjoy. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch link down below, and as well, we also have the update for the PlayStation 5 giveaway, hopefully by tomorrow. And on top of that, too, just make sure you guys are subscribed if you guys would like. Let's go dive on into the video itself. So first and foremost, we have a pretty big drama going on over here when it comes to games, game popularity, game resales, and everything else in between. Now, as I'm sure you guys probably know, when it comes to things like, say, GameStop, when it comes to, let's say, eBay, when it comes to Craigslist, or whatever it might be, people will typically go and sometimes resell the physical copies they have. They'll go walk into GameStop, sell them. They'll go into eBay and try to list it. And for some odd reason, now we're seeing a huge influx of games just not being sold. This is crazy for me to go and see. So right now, we've kind of been seeing a little bit of like the start of some controversy over here when it comes to games and game reselling, where people are just not buying the most recent Spider-Man 2 game. Now, this is on a double side, kind of intriguing. Number one is that when people are trying to sell this stuff, they're selling these games where the price points are very, very low. We're talking like around like $5 or so that we're seeing these price tags on. And this is insanely crazy to me because Spider-Man 2 just came out. Like, the game itself was a very, very recent game. And when we go and see this, it's like, hey, we'd be maybe expecting, I'm not really sure, the most best fair value for third-party games, like people trying to resell on Facebook or, whatever. But I'd probably say it's a new game. It's a disc, it's a single-player playthrough. You go, I'd say at this point, $30. You buy that on Facebook, someone offered me that. One of my buddies bought the game, they beat it. I haven't played it yet myself. Okay, $30, sure, I'd pay for it. That seems okay. But right now, apparently, the game price has dropped so low to the point where it's literally around $5, and the game itself is still, at some point, not even selling. Now, obviously, this is a good reference over here for just going through the scroll list, where a lot of games are selling at that extremely, extremely small, very, very depreciated price value. Now, there is maybe a few consoles mixed on in, but basically, right now, Spider-Man just doesn't have that longevity, apparently, in other outside markets. Now, to put a little bit of, like, I guess, like a secondary twist on it, it make a lot of sense, mainly because other different types of markets, say on Japan. And consoles have been doing very well in Japan, we're going to talk about that in a second. But when it comes to Japan as a whole, you would assume maybe they're not like that into heroes. Maybe it's more of an American-based thing. Like, we're not seeing, like, we sometimes see good superhero movies do well in outside places, China, Korea, Japan, Australia, wherever. But when it comes to stuff like, say, Spider-Man, maybe these are more homegrown, maybe on American consumers and UK consumers. I myself, as an American, grew up on Spider-Man. I love the shows, I love the cartoons, I love the movies, and I love the games. So for me, maybe it's just more of an American-based and cultural difference. And as well, we always hear that, like, say, Japanese cultures don't usually, like, they still do, they'll still buy and they'll still play them, but they don't usually appreciate the American, like, RPG games and, like, these superhero games. That's why they have a big, popular genre of, like, a JRPGs, a Japanese role-playing game where they're, like, 100-plus hour games, and the content's way different and, well, just kind of different what you'd expect. But it does kind of go and pose the intriguing thing where a lot of games are just not really being resold as well. Now, at least in America and the UK, other various regions do still, like, if you go and browse on eBay right now, we're probably gonna be able to go and find quite a few different sales over here. Like, you go through this type of stuff, you see things such as, like, say, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 as well. Or also, GTA still having a $40 price tag, or other even various games over here too. We can even look at the price over here for Spider-Man. This is the old school version game, so PS4. But, like, some of these games are still up on these big retailers, and they have kind of combinations with it. And as well, like, sometimes we'll see games hold up value moderately well. Like, we're seeing something like Monster Hunter, $18. Mortal Kombat, $43, like Call of Duty, $41. I would probably say these are holding up pretty okay value-wise. Here's even Spider-Man Miles Morales for $26, and it's not even the most recent new Spider-Man game. So I would say a lot of the American markets do hold their value pretty well for most various games, even for PlayStation 5 games and these third-party games too as well. And I think at the end of the day, they still hold their value pretty good. But that's why it's intriguing to go and see these other markets just don't seem to care, which is intriguing too because we see things things such as like Nintendo, that has been dominating the Japanese game sales now for apparently 19 consecutive years. The Switch LED software and hardware sales are comfortably just winning in 2023 as of now, which is ridiculous. Like, I think a lot of there is like a homegrown advantage, kind of what I was even saying before when it comes to Spider-Man. Americans, it's a I don't want to say 100% American company, American-based thing, but Americans like their superheroes. Americans like their Spider-Mans. So guess what? It's going to do great in America. It's going to sell phenomenally. In Japan, not so much. But on the reverse, like, not that say Nintendo's a bad company, but Japanese people are very, very, like, nationalistic, and they want a company like Nintendo to do well. They'd probably prefer to buy things on Nintendo than the Xbox. It's been proven, it's been documented, been researched and talked about a lot all throughout here. And as of right, the second Nintendo platforms have dominated the Japanese sales charts for 19 consecutive years, according to the newly published data. Nintendo has dominated the physical software charts in Japan every year since 2005, according to the historical Famitsu data. In 2004, 8 of the top 10 best-selling games were PS2 titles, but since then, the majority of Japan's top 10 games every year have been Nintendo systems. On the hardware front, only 1 year in the last 19 has seen a non-Nintendo console on top in Japan, which was when the PSP was the leading platform, and every other year the DS, 3DS, or Switch was always the best-selling console too as well. And it's intriguing because if you just want to look at the actual 2023 charts, even though the PlayStation consoles have been selling well, and people are still buying games for it. But Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, 2 million copies. This is only in Japan. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, 1.5. Pikmin 4, 1.1. Pokemon, 900,000. Donetsu World, no idea what that is, 800,000. Nintendo Switches Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, 600,000. Kirby, 500,000. Dragon Quest, 500,000. Splatoon, 500,000. Super Mario RPG, 400,000. Some of these are also more newer releases, which is kind of maybe lower, say Super Mario RPG. And on the reverse, something like Splatoon 3. Is also been out for quite some time, so those numbers are still insane to see. Like, we're seeing 4 million Splatoon copies, we're seeing 5 million Mario Kart, 5 million Pokemon. And as well, if you look at the hardware sales, the Switch is at 31 million total, running up to 33 or 32. PS5 did 2 million, which is insane, but also round up to 5. And then the Xbox is still slacking quite a bit, and the PS4 is still somehow irrelevant. But it's nice to go and see this because apparently people are looking for the same data as we mentioned before. People are still able and wanting to go and pay those higher prices for games in, like, say, Nintendo, where they would be down to go and even for the resale values, like the Japanese equivalent for, say, like an eBay or Craigslist or whatever, they hold their value very, very well in comparison, say, to PlayStation and maybe even a lot of Xbox games. Like, I'll be honest, like, this is maybe a little bit of an anti-PlayStation game or video, but Xbox is even lower. I mean, also factoring Game Pass 2 and not as many physical copies and also not a big physical presence, say, for the Xbox Series X, it makes sense in terms of overall ratio of numbers. But it's ridiculous to go and see that some of these games are kind of flopping and they just don't care about these other markets. Now, this is fine though, because sometimes, like, say in Japan or China, those games that people play there are going to be different than what, like, they kind of want to go do here in America. If you guys got to look and say the Japanese places too as well, which is intriguing, which is the PlayStation Japan. Baldur's Gate, once again, RPGs, Monster Hunter with their big resurgence, and as well even Beat Saber, and it kind of fits like almost like the Weebier style, although Baldur's Gate's throwing me up, although that game was phenomenal. Looking through this one on Japan compared to America, Baldur's Gate 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Grand Blue Fantasy, and then we have Madden, Call of Duty with Grand Theft Auto, Ryu is a man who erased 7 outbound names, no idea what that is, NBA 2K24, and then Monster Hunter Rise right afterwards too as well, Hogwarts Legacy, like it's basically like it's almost like a weird switch up, like Baldur's Gate over here, Baldur's Gate number 1, Avatar is mixing here too, and then Avatar is still around, sure, but it's not as big, Elden Ring still around too as well, Custom Mech Wars, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, Persona, all these kind of big games over here in Japan. Well, I'll see some maybe Arc 2 as well. It's kind of maybe see things like Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, Alan Wake is still kind of floated on in. So it's very intriguing to see how it's still very similar in what's being bought and sold, but as well, nothing that crazy. And if you guys even look at these same numbers, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 in the United States, 6. Not bad, it's going well, it's a single player game, people want to buy will get it. And if you even look on this list, we see this at 17 even lower than Persona or Cyberpunk or Elden Ring or Elder Scrolls or even random games such as like Street Fighter. So it kind of goes and shows that the whole different region does change stuff quite a bit, a little bit more. Also saw Spite 2 is also now coming to PlayStation. I kind of want to play this. I've been on a big League of Legends kick with their brand new season. Very intriguing to go and see. And of course, Prince of Persia 2 as well. Apparently had some phenomenal great reviews where I had very, very lackluster initial thoughts. This game is apparently pulling like 9 pluses, even on big high-end things such as Game Informer, something to keep an eye on at the end of the day. Just go and see. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. Make sure you guys are subscribed as well. We have the Twitter and Twitch link down below, and I appreciate y'all so much for watching here in the first place.